The scorching desert air of Qatar 2025 hung heavy. With more than just heat, it carried the suffocating weight of Ferrari's despair. The SF25, a machine designed for glory, had become a scarlet symbol of humiliation. Lewis Hamilton, the seven-time world champion, was set to start from a dismal P18, a position utterly unfathomable for a driver of his caliber. This race, far from being a championship decider, was poised to be an indelible stain on Ferrari's storied legacy, its echoes already reverberating through the hallowed halls of Maranello. Hamilton himself had described the car as having zero performance, a sentiment that perfectly encapsulated Ferrari's pre-race expectations. Non-existent. Yet what unfolded on that fateful day would not merely confirm the SF25's inherent flaws, it would expose the very strategic soul of Ferrari, leaving team principal Fred Vasseur utterly speechless and his star driver, Charles Leclerc, questioning everything he thought he knew. The central terrifying question that emerged from the Qatar Grand Prix was this: how could a driver, strapped into what was arguably the worst car on the grid, not only humiliate the entire paddock, but also send shivers down the spine of the prancing horse itself? The SF25's state was beyond deplorable. It wasn't merely slow, it was a wounded, unstable, unpredictable, and utterly uncontrollable scarlet beast. From the moment it first hit the track in pre-season testing, the car had struggled inherently, defying the best efforts of Ferrari's engineers and constantly frustrating its world-class drivers. Its aerodynamic package refused to generate consistent downforce, its balance shifted wildly from corner to corner, and its power unit, while potent on paper, simply couldn't translate into competitive lap times on the demanding circuit. The car was a constant battle, a mechanical rebellion against its human masters, a stark contrast to the precision machines usually associated with Formula One's elite. The qualifying disaster that preceded race day had been a brutal preview. Lewis Hamilton, astonishingly, found himself eliminated in Q1 not once, but twice, first in the sprint qualifying, then again in the main Grand Prix. For a driver of his legendary caliber, this was nothing short of a seismic shock to the entire motorsport world. His radio message, delivered with an unnerving calm, resonated with the grim reality: the car won't accelerate. It was a statement of undeniable fact, devoid of anger or frustration, simply a pure acknowledgement of mechanical failure. Charles Leclerc, too, had wrestled desperately with the SF25, visibly struggling with its inherent instability, spinning dramatically on multiple occasions and barely scraping into Q3. The qualifying sessions were a public spectacle of Ferrari's profound engineering woes. Ferrari's strategic blunder was now laid bare for all the world to see. Whispers had turned into open admissions from the engineers. Development on the SF25 had effectively ceased back in April. A shocking revelation. Resources, precious and finite, had been entirely diverted to the radically different 2026 regulations. While rival teams continued to pour upgrades onto their 2025 Challengers, constantly pushing the boundaries, Ferrari had remained stagnant, a fossilized giant watching the world evolve around it. This was a self-imposed purgatory, a colossal strategic gamble intended to gain an early advantage in the new era, but one that had unequivocally ruined their entire 2025 season. They had sacrificed the present for a future that was far from guaranteed. A sense of resigned fatalism permeated the Ferrari garage on race morning. Every mechanic, every engineer, every strategist moved with the heavy burden of foregone conclusions. Hamilton, starting from P18, harbored no illusions. Grim internal projections of no points for either driver were commonplace. The paddock opinion was unanimous. This was purely damage limitation for both drivers, a truly disheartening prospect. Even rivals expressed a degree of pity. Pierre Gasly, walking past Hamilton's car, offered a sympathetic, "Looks pretty bad, man." The universal expectation was a long, frustrating afternoon for Hamilton, destined for disappointment. Yet, beneath this pervasive fatalism, an unexpected event was about to unfold, one that would not only defy every single projection, but also rewrite the narratives surrounding Lewis Hamilton, the SF25, and indeed, the very future of Scuderia Ferrari. The Qatar Grand Prix roared to life, a cacophony of engines echoing across the desert night. From the ignominious depths of P18, Lewis Hamilton launched his problematic SF25, not with resignation, but with an almost violent precision that immediately defied every expectation. It was an unexpected driving masterclass from the very first meter, a controlled chaos unleashed upon the mid-pack. He navigated the opening corners with an aggressive yet surgical accuracy, infiltrating the tightly packed field, a scarlet blur weaving through what should have been an impenetrable wall of superior machinery. The SF-25, previously deemed an uncontrollable beast, seemed to bend to his will, momentarily shedding its inherent flaws under the sheer force of his intent. Overtakes commenced not from the second stint, but from lap 1, each move a testament to surgical and relentless efficiency. He carved through the field with a relentless hunger. Each position gained a small, defiant victory against the car's known limitations. The commentators, initially dismissive of Ferrari's prospects, found their narratives shifting, their voices rising from resigned observations to astonished superlatives, as Hamilton's car, the one that supposedly offered zero performance, climbed steadily. By lap 15, the impossible had begun to materialize. Hamilton was firmly in scoring position, battling cars that were objectively faster, more stable, and had started significantly higher up the grid. The Ferrari pit wall, a place usually buzzing with strategic chatter, plunged into an astonished silence, their grim pre-race projections shattered into 1,000 pieces by the unfolding reality on track. Then came the truly baffling phase, around lap 30, with the race settling into its rhythm. Hamilton, now on hard tyres, began to maintain a pace that was not merely respectable, but verging on podium contention. This was in a car his own team had publicly declared uncontrollable, a machine whose development had been completely halted months prior. The engineers in the garage were not just surprised, they were utterly perplexed. Telemetry data streamed back, yet it stubbornly refused to match their simulator predictions, defied their understanding of the SF-25's capabilities. It was as if Hamilton was driving a completely different car, or perhaps seeing a different track, one where the SF-25's inherent vices simply did not exist, or at least were rendered irrelevant by his unique approach. He didn't just drive the SF-25, he deciphered it. It was a profound, almost spiritual connection. A deep understanding that allowed him to coexist with its flaws instead of fighting its inherent instability. Where others battled the car, Hamilton embraced its eccentricities, finding harmony in its discord. He discovered new braking zones, areas where the SF-25 could be pushed deeper than anyone thought possible, leveraging its front-end grip in ways that defied conventional wisdom. He altered corner trajectories with micro-adjustments so subtle they were almost imperceptible, yet cumulatively transformative. Each steering input, each throttle application, was a calculated dance, smoothing transitions to minimize the SF-25's violent instability. Coaxing responsiveness from its stubborn chassis, he entered a deep race mode, a state of hyper-focus completely disconnected from the external noise of championship implications or team politics. His entire being was committed to the intricate man-machine interaction, extracting every single millisecond of performance from a car that refused to give it freely. His tyre management was impeccable, a masterclass on the abrasive Qatar asphalt. While others struggled with degradation, Hamilton extended the life of his hard compound tyres, maintaining blistering pace long after rivals had fallen away. His overtakes were calculated, surgical, and relentlessly executed without a single wasted movement or error. He transformed an impossible car into a formidable weapon, not through brute force, but through an unparalleled blend of intuition, experience, and sheer genius. This was a testament to his unparalleled adaptation and innovation under immense pressure, redefining the SF-25's supposed limits and leaving everyone, especially his own team, in a state of profound awe and discomfort. The implications of this performance would resonate far beyond Qatar. Post-race, the Ferrari garage was cloaked in a silence far heavier than any defeat. Fred Vasseur, typically a picture of composed, strategic thought, stood utterly speechless, his face a canvas of profound astonishment. The usual calm defining his leadership shattered, replaced by an unnerving bewilderment. Lewis Hamilton had not merely scored points from an 18th place start in a car universally deemed uncompetitive, he had achieved the impossible, defying every logical projection. His performance was not a mere victory, it was a seismic event, a crisis reverberating through every technical department at Maranello. He unequivocally demonstrated that the SF-25, despite inherent flaws and halted development, possessed latent capacity for speed and control, accessible only through a deep intuitive understanding of its complex nature. This wasn't a moment for celebration, it was a profoundly disturbing revelation, shaking the very foundations of Ferrari's technical understanding and strategic direction. The initial relief of securing unexpected points quickly curdled into a gnawing unease, a realization that something fundamental within their operation had been spectacularly misinterpreted. The implications of Hamilton's drive were immediate and devastatingly clear. If one driver, fresh to the team, could extract such phenomenal performance from a supposedly dead car, while Charles Leclerc, the team's prodigy, continued to struggle, the issue wasn't solely the SF25 itself, it was the interpretation of the car, the method of taming its wild spirit. Leclerc's earlier public declarations about the SF25's zero performance had been spectacularly disproven by his new teammate. Hamilton, with every surgical overtake and perfectly executed corner, had laid bare an abyss in approach, a chasm in capability that Ferrari could no longer ignore. This wasn't just about lap times, it was about the very philosophy of driver-car interaction, the art of extracting the maximum from imperfect machinery. The implications threatened to dismantle the team's established development philosophy, forcing a painful re-evaluation of their engineering priorities and, most controversially, their existing driver hierarchy. The uncomfortable truth was that Hamilton's brilliance had exposed a blind spot in Ferrari's understanding of their own creation and in the capabilities of their other star driver. Hamilton's insane driving in Qatar, a performance bordering on the mythical, created an immediate and dangerous internal fissure within Ferrari. The stark, undeniable contrast between Leclerc's repeated descriptions of the SF25 as an uncontrollable monster, a car he struggled to keep on track, and Hamilton's extraordinary, almost effortless speed was impossible to reconcile. Engineers, mechanics, and strategists alike found themselves caught between two conflicting realities. One driver reported a car fundamentally flawed, a strategic dead end. The other had just piloted that same machine to a result defying all logic. This wasn't merely a difference in driving style, it was a fundamental divergence in perception, a schism threatening to undermine team cohesion and trust. Doubts began to fester, not just about the car, but about the feedback mechanisms, about who truly understood the beast they had created. The team, already grappling with a difficult season, now faced an existential crisis of identity, fueled by the unsettling truth that their new acquisition possessed a unique key to unlock performance no one else could find. The most immediate and crippling consequence of Hamilton's Qatar heroics was the profound crisis it instigated in Ferrari's technical decision-making. Faced with such wildly contradictory driver feedback, one insisting on the car's inherent untamability, the other demonstrating its hidden potential, the engineers found themselves in an unprecedented predicament. Whose data, whose subjective input, whose deep-seated understanding of the SF25 was to be trusted for future development? The team's technical directors grappled with a severe crisis of confidence, questioning the very foundation of their development methodologies, relying on feedback that might be incomplete or worse, fundamentally misinterpreting the car's true limits, carried the monumental risk of misdirecting the team's entire future path and wasting invaluable resources. The spectre of 2026, with its radical new regulations, loomed large, making this dilemma even more critical. Qatar had not only highlighted a current deficit, but had also cast a long, dark shadow over Ferrari's strategic direction and its critical driver dynamics, leaving the entire paddock, and indeed Maranello, to ponder how a single, impossible drive could unravel the fabric of an entire racing giant, forcing a profound, painful